If the city is going to be this way, I hate to see it fall into tyranny, but that's what the tyranny is. And to say that the police are the terrorists, it seems that way in our neighborhood. Roxanne had heard some things, and she told us what their plans had been, that they had planned that they were going to tear down the housing and put in mixed income housing. What mixed income means, we don't know. That could be upper middle class or rich people or not. We decided that we were going to say to the housing authority and to the city that we wanted to keep our housing.
The major impetus for organizing around Chattanooga Organized for Action started with a recall process, an attempt to recall Mayor Ron Littlefield based on charges of corruption. And after the recall had passed and then it was fought and trampled in court, then COA changed its gears and began to try to figure out a way that they can work with directly affected communities. What we're trying to do is something that's based on core concepts of democracy and participation, to really create a foundation for a participatory society, a participatory economy.
And we went down to City Hall, spoke to the city fathers on what was happening to us out here. They claimed they didn't know anything about purpose-built. They didn't know that these people were coming down here, that they had been invited to come down and tear down public housing. We came back to our committee and we talked about what we thought that we wanted the city and the housing authority to do. We got a petition. In a matter of, say, 3 weeks, we gathered up over 2,000 signatures of people who said that they were for public housing. There were even people in the city who were saying that there is not enough housing even to rent, let alone to buy, but to rent, and that the rents were astronomically high, and that we wanted some kind of cap put on it, at least for them to say if they tore down the housing, that they replace it. There's a complex which we call Alton Park. They tore it down. It consists of over 500 units. When they replaced it back, they only put about 200, a little over 200 units back in there. And none of the people who were thrown out of there got a chance to move back in.
I don't think that anywhere with any size city there's anything that is that demanding, one for one. If we can get this passed, we will set a precedent for the country.
We were assured that we would not be evicted or asked to vacate premises, that we were protected until 2026. Then, a couple of months ago, like end of May, I think it was, the executive director comes and says, oh, well, if we get the property, I just want to gut it. Well, that means everybody's got to leave.
We were told that this was not going to happen, that, everything was fine, that HUD is not going to move us out.
We were supposed to be
there.
Protected under the deed.
Under the deed.
Until 2026. That it was supposed to be for senior housing, senior disabled. I tend to create a little hell. I mean, if they make me mad enough and they start abusing and hurting my neighbors and friends, that makes me angry.
Direct action is very hard when you're isolated, when you feel alone. The idea that one person can make a change, take control of their own lives, and to fight to actually represent themselves and not be represented by other people. And COLE provides that here in this community. It provides a way for people that are more privileged, people from different sectors of the city who don't face the same struggles, to come into contact with those who are oppressed, those who are underprivileged, those who are pushed to the margins of society, to have a place where we can follow them to seek to address their own problem, and we're only here as allies. It does away with a lot of paternalism that you see with nonprofits, that you see with foundations, in which solutions are made for people and they really never meet people's problems.
They have been trying to run the people out of the public housing by getting the police to harass the people who live there. At night, even though there isn't a curfew in the city, adults are not allowed, not even, to sit on their porch without the police walking up on your porch and asking you for identification. Our children are harassed. Some are hauled off to jail. They put the handcuffs on them so tight they almost break their arms, pick them up and slam them to the ground, and then throw them in jail, and then the mother has to go and pick them up. They call the ladies out of their names, disrespect them. To the kids, how can you respect a cop if he's going to call your mother a name that I wouldn't say in the church right now? Then they use the N-word. Those kind of things should not happen. It's sad, but it happens almost every day.
The last COA meeting, Perrin and I were the last to leave. There were four cop cars that had pulled up and blocked in a group of children, the teenagers, on the sides of the James Henry building, and there were about 5 cops standing out there messing with them. And these ladies across the street at Golden Gateway Apartments called us over, and they basically gave us the whole rundown on it. They were like, those kids weren't doing anything, and the cops just rolled up on them real quick, jumped out, and then started telling them that they want their IDs, they want to know what they're doing, and they said the Reverend's grandson asked them why they were messing with them, and they said, boy, you're talking back to me, I'm going to take you to county jail if you say another word. So I go out in the middle of the street, and very blatantly I start taking pictures of the cops and their cars, taking specific pictures of the squad car numbers so I would have that information. And one of the police officers looped around and came up behind me and jumped out of the car. And he's like, is there a problem? I'm like, no, why would there be a problem? And then he asked me for my ID, so I get my ID out and I give it to him. And while I'm on the phone, he grabs my hand and twists it and then grabs my phone and starts going through it. So, it's assault and illegal search and seizure and things like that. And then he starts really getting insulting, asking me if I'm stupid, asking me if I have Down syndrome. And then he says, oh, I know what it is. You read the paper, right? Because the West Side had, 2 articles. They had Yolanda Putnam writing an article about police harassment, and then they also had the David Cook editorial. And he was like, and you think you need to come down here to protect these people from us. Is that it? You think you need to protect these people?
I hate to say it, but they lie often. They have one lady over here that she has brought charges up against them. They are telling people when they arrest them that she is an informant. So you can thank her for your arrest. What kind of business is that? What that's trying to do is either get her killed or get the people to rally up against her.
Ms. Joyce, who brought the issue to everybody's attention, has been facing more intimidation since the newspaper articles came out. The cops said she was an informant, so they're trying to put that narrative out there to discredit her.
I can't trust the police. You don't know whether they're going to come up here and destroy the church. Who knows? I don't know whether they're going to try and put a match to my church or a match to daycare. And that's a shame. The police are the enemy, and I hate to say it.
And he eventually gives me my phone back, and he's like, you need to be careful, something's going to happen to you out here. So they're very, very much like not wanting people to push back on them at all, and they take any sort of like action that doesn't fall in the line like of how they want you to act as eroding, you know, their power and privilege.
We have a community here. We know our neighbors. We know who they are. We look out for one another. Places you have neighborhood watch where people watch out for themselves in the community. But we're having a neighborhood watch, what we call a cop watch. We're trying to arm the people with some kind of justice. So we're asking them now, when you see this happening, make a date and the time when you see something happening.
The lawyer, Joyce's lawyer, said it's important when you take the picture to write down the date and the time that you took the picture.
And the name of the officer.
And the name of the officer or whatever.
Badge number.
Whatever the event.
We have got to get our churches, our ministers together, our people who have some knowledge of the system to work with us as well.
Yeah, well, the ladies I was talking to across the street, they went out in the front yard as soon as the cop came up and started talking to me. They turned on their cell phones and were like recording the cops, right? Which is it was really awesome. And then I went up afterwards and asked them, I was like, you know, you're going to give me a copy of this video? And they were like, we don't have cameras on our phones.